All right, so we just saw factor by grouping in the last video. So let's just run through a couple examples just so you see it more than one time. So factor each trinomial. In part A, we have 10x squared plus 17x plus 3. Our first step is to look for a GCF. What we notice is that A does not equal 1. So we look for a GCF. There is no GCF for this trinomial, so I'm actually going to write that down. No GCF. I'm communicating that I've looked for it and I couldn't find one. So now let's go through our steps for factor by grouping. We're going to do A times C. So that is 10 times 3. 10 times 3 is 30. What we're looking for are factors of 30 that add up to 17. So factors of 30, let's see, if we think through, we get to 2 and 15. That adds up to 17. So now we're going to write our trinomial as a 4-term polynomial, and we're going to replace that b term, 17x, with a 2x and a 15x. And then we carry down our c term of plus 3. Now we're going to group as two binomials. So let's group a binomial there, group a binomial there. And now we're looking for a GCF for each binomial. So we're factoring by, this is the part where we're grouping. This is how it gets its name. So a GCF of 10x squared plus 2x is 2x. If you factor a 2x out of 10x squared, you get 5x. When you factor a 2x out of 2x, you're left with a positive 1. All right, plus 15x plus 3 has a GCF of 3. When you factor a 3 out of 15x, you get 5x. And when you factor a 3 out of a 3, you get a positive 1. So we notice that we have a GCF, a binomial GCF here. We've got a 5x plus 1 and a 5x plus 1. So we're going to factor that out, 5x plus 1. And then what you're left with is that 2x and that plus 3. And there we have factored by grouping. All right, let's try another one. We have a quadratic trinomial. We are looking for a GCF because wouldn't it be great if that 2 wasn't there, if we could factor it out? Then we could just do our factoring we did in the last lesson. We look for a GCF, we don't see one, so we're going to write no GCF, so everyone knows that we did look for it. And now we're going to factor by grouping. We do A times C. So our A value is 2 times our C value is negative 21. That gets us to negative 42. Now we're looking for factors of negative 42 that add up to this positive 1. So if you think through your factors of 42, we'll end up with a negative 6, positive 7. That adds up to positive 1. Now we rewrite our polynomial as our trinomial as a 4-term polynomial. 2x squared, we are replacing that plus x, the 1x, our b term, with a minus 6x plus 7x. Negative 6x plus 7x is the same thing as that 1x, and then minus 21. Now we're going to group as two binomials and look for a GCF. GCF of the first group, 2x squared minus 6x, is 2x. Factor out a 2x, so you're left with an x minus 3, plus 7x minus 21 has a GCF of 7. When you factor out a 7, you're left with an x minus 3. We notice the common binomial, our common GCF binomial. So we are going to factor that out, x minus 3, and what we're left with, the 2x and the plus 7, we write in that second parenthesis. There you go, factor by grouping.